Hi guys, and welcome to the season review episode of our first season in charge of Nice. And basically in this episode we're just going to look around at what's happened in the rest of the world. We're going to have a look at some stats for our team and for Ligue 1 and just go over the season that's happened really. But we'll start up with what was a shock for me to see. Jean Terral has been called up for the preliminary England squad. So he's been called up to the 30-man lineup. And what's most shocking about this, Jean Terral is a Spanish national. He can, however, play for England. I think that's due to the fact that he was a youth player in England. He was trained in England. So that's how he can play for England or Spain. So I've got everything crossed that he's going to get called up to the actual 23-man squad. That would be a really cool thing for me. Now, the first thing we'll look at is end of season awards. So we've had a few players inducted into the overall best 11 squad. Mattia Vitali is the pick of the 5 players. Obviously, still trying to get him from Juve. I have sent an inquiry across, so maybe we'll find out about that in this episode. Maybe not. But other players that have joined the best 11 are Clayton, John Terral, and then on the bench we have added Juan Carlos and Eli Yuan. There's the rest of the team just for your own perusal. Now for the actual end of season awards. So the award for fans player of the season goes to Remy Walter. Juris Djurdjevic came second. Juan Carlos came third. William Cyprian got goal of the season. We'll show you that now. So here it is. It was against Lorient. So Vitali has the ball. He passes it to Juan Carlos. Cyprian grabs it and just smashes it from about 30 yards. Straight into the back of the net. Excellent goal and well-deserved winner. It was the winning goal of the game and is a well-deserved winner for goal of the season. Signing of the season, Jean Terral on a free transfer from Arsenal. Sadly, not one of my signings. I feel if Juan Carlos hadn't got injured, he would probably be signing of the season. But the fact that he did kind of ruins that. And then young player of the season, Remy Walter, the youngster that I started playing instead of Isery. Why is he there? That makes no sense at all. Walter should surely be in the team of the season. That is ridiculous. Djurdjevic should arguably be in there as well. I mean, I know I only signed him in January, but okay. So there is the team of the season. Benitez in goal. Again, I'm questioning that for the number of errors that he made. Cardinal was a lot more solid in goal than Benitez. Andrea at right back. I kind of get that. Lemarchand at centre back. Dante, again, not too sure about that. He didn't play. He played quite a few games for us, didn't he? But Thiago Kurzawa probably had more of an impact. Dalba at left back. Questionable. Greg Cunningham came in January. Had a pretty good time at left back. Cyprian at defensive midfield. No one else played there really. Apart from a couple of times when Cyprian was either banned or injured. Vitali and Iseric in centre midfield. Again, I've said Walter should probably be in Iseric's place. Juan Carlos and Jean Terral, I can live with that. And then Clayton up front, I can also live with that. Now the season review. So ESPNFC.com said few will have tipped Nice to achieve more than the top half finish heading into the season, but Nice confounded expectation by securing continental football for next season. Indeed we did by finishing 4th in Ligue 1. We also won the Coupe de la Ligue, which guaranteed us Europa League qualification anyway. But unfortunately, we lost in the 10th round of the French Cup to Stade Lavallois. That was a very disappointing defeat to take. Match of the season is the 2-0 victory over Bordeaux. Surely it would be the 5-0 we had in the Cup. But I guess, okay. And moment to forget is the 2-0 defeat to Bastia. Average attendance 22,569, which is only 62% of our capacity, which isn't that good. Total players used 32. That's the second highest number of players used in Ligue 1 this season. So it's time for the end of season team meeting. So what do I want to say? I feel aiming for Champions League football is the next logical step, really. But I think the players might underestimate us. So to keep them happy, I'll say I'm expecting to qualify for Europa League. Hopefully this works. I'm not going to look. Please work. And it's an overall great reaction, an acceptable response from me. That is good to hear. That's exactly the sort of reaction I was after. Okay, oh well, it's not gone as well as I thought actually. So we've got a few players that aren't happy despite so that must be with what I said when I said that's exactly the sort of reaction I was after. How has that offended you? How does that offend you? I thought it was an acceptable reaction. I was happy with the reaction that you gave me, but that somehow offends you. Okay. Now, the board end of season confidence review. They are delighted with the leadership qualities I'm demonstrating. Last time I looked, I was untouchable, my status with the board, so that's good. Major highlight is our 5-3 victory over Paris Saint-Germain in the Coupe de la Ligue final. I would agree. And the major criticism, which I kind of don't agree with, the decision to sign Emil Kraft appears to be a poor financial deal. Now, finance-wise, it might be a poor deal, but he's played pretty well when we've played him. So, not really got an issue with Kraft. So, let's have a look at our squad and how they've done this season. So, the most appearances is a joint award between Wyland Cyprian and Mattia Vitale, another one of the reasons that I want to get him in on a permanent deal. However, Clayton has technically made 41 appearances, 10 of those as a substitute, so he could technically be down for winning that award, but I'll give it to Cyprian and Vitale. Top goal scorer for us this season is Eli Yuan with 9 goals. Now, it's not a bad thing that our... No, that's wrong. It's Clayton with 13 goals. I was going to say, I was wondering where Clayton was. So Clayton with 13 goals is our top goal scorer. It's not... I was going to say it's not a bad thing that our top scorer only has single figures, which I thought was going to be Eli Yuan with 9. But still, it just means that all the goals have been shared out. So you can see there's quite a few players that scored more than 5 goals this season, which is it's a good sign of everyone just doing their bit and getting goals for this team. Most assists this season, again, goes to Clayton. So not only has he been scoring the goals, but he's been making the goals as well. 9 goals for him. Djurdjevic and Tural with 7 apiece, and then Vitale with 6. I feel Djurdjevic, if he'd been with us the entire season, may well have beaten Clayton in both goals and assists, as he seems to have been in fine fettle with both of those this season. Most Player of the Match awards. Now, it was a close run thing in the end. Remy Walter got 6 Player of the Match awards. He did have that massive run at the beginning of the season where he was just picking up man of the match after man of the match after man of the match. But Clayton and Juris Djurdjevic did come back to give him a bit of a battle for that title, but Walter held on and managed to keep a hold of the Most Player of the Match awards for the season. The award for highest pass completion ratio is again to Mattia Vitale. 91% is pretty damn good for his pass completion. Second place, Cyprian with 90%. I'm loving the high figures there for the passing. Obviously, we do play a possession-based football, and it goes to show there with the high percentage for our top 2 pass completers. Most tackles per game for a player that's played a decent amount of games would go to Greg Cunningham, who's got 3.71 tackles per game. He has been a very good signing for us, if I do say so myself. The record signing from Preston North End for a ridiculous amount of money for a Preston North End player. But he's definitely done well for us. He's managed to get himself a goal and 2 assists this season as well, which is all I can ask for really from a left back. And then we look at shots on target ratio, and we have 3 people that are on 50% or more. So Eli Yuan and Clayton played a vast majority of games. Clayton played more games than Yuan altogether, but they both had 51% shots on target percentage, which is very good. Romain Perraud with 50%. Obviously, he played a few games less, but it's a good percentage. I'm liking that. Now for the disciplinary awards, and the award for most dirty player, most yellow cards, is Dalbert. So Dalbert played 19 times for us, and then we eventually replaced him with Greg Cunningham. Greg Cunningham tried to catch up to him, in fact, with 8 yellow cards. The positions that we're getting yellow cards in are kind of positions that I would expect to see yellow cards in. It's not like we've got a lunatic striker that's going around kicking everyone or anything like that. Although Romain Perraud and Eli Yuan do both have a yellow card each. But I'm sure that wasn't for kicking people. And my award for the cleanest player would have to go to Juris Djurdjevic. No yellow cards, no red cards, and he's played the most out of anyone that had no yellow cards or red cards. Speaking of red cards, we only had 1 red card this season, and that went to our defensive midfielder, so that's acceptable. He's a defensive midfielder. His job is practically to break up the play, maybe kick people a bit, and win the ball back. That's what he did. He just happened to miss the tackle on this one, I'm guessing, and got himself sent off. but that's a good disciplinary record, I would say, only having the one red card this season. And finally, for the average rating, we give that to, surprisingly, Dalbert. Now that is a great surprise. The left back, who was replaced in January by Greg Cunningham, got a 7.32 average rating. In second place was Remy Walter with a 7.31. He has been a great find for us this season in centre midfield. Can't really underestimate the influence that he has had on us. You can just see there by the amount he's helped us out with goals and assists, and the fact he had the most player of the match awards as well. Lots of players on an average rating of 7 or higher, which is very nice indeed. I notice my prospect centre-back is on less than 7, but we'll just let him off. He's only young. Now I'm just in the midst of advancing forward so that we can get to looking at all the leagues, and all the leagues can be completed before we have a look at them. And this news article came up. So Juris Djurdjevic, who we obviously bought in January because of his amazing goal-scoring form, he's actually finished second in the Serbian Super League Top Goal Scorer Award. 15 goals, 6 assists has put him in second place. So well done him. And I said we might have an update from the the Mattia Vitale transfer, and we have in fact received a response to our inquiry from Juve. They want 9.25 million upfront, 3.1 million in monthly instalments, and 30% of the percentage of next sale. So let's see if we can get this knocked down. His value has gone up dramatically. I did try and get him earlier in the season, but I couldn't agree terms with his agent to be able to talk to him to offer a contract. And our budget is only 6.6 million, so knock that down at 20%. We'll knock this down to £1 million. See what they say to that. Acceptable, brilliant. So we will hopefully enter into negotiations with him and not his agent this time. It probably will be his agent, and I'll probably not be able to agree on anything with his agent again, and we'll probably not be able to get him, but I've got to try. Okay, so here is the agent who is an absolute pain in the arse, Cesare Lorenzetti. He doesn't have a good relationship with me, so that is probably why. I prefer these talks to be brief. My client's looking for the following as a starting point, but you'll need to add more in order to convince him to enter into contract discussions. So he wants a big pay rise. I can give him that, definitely. The aim for the league this season, Champions League. Guessing he'll like that. Long-term aims for the club are to win the league the season after next. That's an acceptable one to me. Can he take free kicks or penalties? That is a very good question. No, definitely not. I don't really want to appoint him as a captain. I'll appoint him as vice captain, because I don't really care about Paul Bice. I can't really promise him anything else. Suggest promises? It's too far apart from my client's demand. Maybe if I just do this. Oh, yes. Excellent. So I only have to promise him that we'd qualify for the Champions League this season, and that'd give him a big pay rise. So hopefully that means contract negotiations are going to start very soon, and Vitale can come to his spiritual home of Nice. Oh, good lord. What does he want that for? Okay, he's not that interested in joining the club, so we need to make an amazing offer, and that is an offer that we can't afford, I'm afraid. £60,000. I mean, even a budget adjustment ain't going to help that. Okay, so unfortunately, it looks as though Vitale is not going to be able to sign with us. Now that's a shame. So now that the League 1 season is officially over, we can look at the team stats and the player stats for the season that's just happened. So we'll look at the team stats first. So most goals, we are 4th in that category with 57 goals, but nobody comes close to the top two, Paris Saint-Germain and Lyon. Paris Saint-Germain managing 80 goals, Lyon managing only 78, but still that's a lot more than we managed. We had the best average possession out of anyone in the entire league, which I'm very pleased about considering I like to play possession-based football. 54.97% possession across 38 matches. We also have the highest pass completion ratio. Now that'll be helped by Vitale and was it Cyprian or Walter? We had two players, I can't really remember now, that were on 90% plus for their pass completion ratio, and we've managed to get 82% pass completion ratio, the best in the league. Just behind us are Bastia and St Etienne, but very pleased with that also. And in terms of other records that I could see there, most games without losing, that award goes to us as well. 7 games we went without losing. By a country mile, we won that category. Bastia in second place with 4 games without losing, but we did really well to go 7 matches without losing. But I think, if I remember rightly, that was probably a run of draws, maybe. There would have been some draws in there, so it's not as impressive as it sounds. Now this is the point where I would normally look at the player stats, but we don't actually have any players in the top 8 for any of the stats, so I can't really do that. So we'll just look at the final league table to end this little segment of looking at Ligue 1, and we'll go through who's been relegated, who's got European football and all that jazz. So champions, as we already know, Paris Saint-Germain finished 4 points clear of second place Lyon, who got Champions League football for next season, along with SC Bastia. In the Europa League, we know is ourselves in the group stage, Monaco in the qualifying round, and Stade Rennais actually beat Paris Saint-Germain in the cup final 2-0 to get their place in the Europa League for next season as well. So unfortunate for St Etienne, because they would have been expecting Paris Saint-Germain to beat Stade Rennais so that they could get Europa League football, but that wasn't to be. And relegated, we have Nantes and Lille, as we already knew, and then SM Cayenne also relegated. They must have lost their playoff. Yes, they lost to AS Nancy, so Nancy are coming up to the top league. So we will look at Ligue 2 just to see who's getting promoted. It doesn't really matter about the relegation places. There is one relegation place left that may or may not turn into a relegation place. It's a relegation playout, but it doesn't really matter. It is Ligue 2. But the 3 teams that will be coming up to Ligue 1 next season and we will be facing are EA Guingamp, Nîmes Olympique and AS Nancy, as I previously mentioned. So 3 new teams to face next season. Oh, I was wrong about the scoreline in the Coupe de France. Coupe de France was actually a 1-0 win for Stade Rennais, but they still win, so that's what really matters. So at this point, we will have a browse around the rest of the leagues in Europe, and we'll have a look at the Champions League and Europa League as well, if they've been played yet. So the Premier League, now the top 7 teams have managed to get European football, and there are 5 Champions League places, which can only mean one thing, that either somebody's, it can only mean one thing that doesn't make sense, because that means that it can mean one of 2 things. So either somebody has won the Europa League, or somebody's won the Champions League. We'll find out what the case is on that a bit later on. But champions of the Premier League are Arsenal, 8 points clear of the 2 Manchester clubs who finished 2nd and 3rd. Chelsea finished 4th. Tottenham 5th, so those top 5 all in the Champions League for next season. Southampton and Leicester finishing in the Europa League spots in 6th and 7th. Liverpool, unfortunately, finishing in 8th, which is not nice for me to see. Relegated from the Premier League, Middlesbrough, QPR and Wolves. So now we head over to the Bundesliga to see if anybody has managed to usurp Bayern, and the case is that they haven't. Bayern have once again won the Bundesliga by quite a large margin of 17 points. Leverkusen, Dortmund and Hamburg finishing in the other Champions League places. Schalke and Wolfsburg in the Europa League spot. Hoffenheim possibly going to get a Europa League spot as well. I assume that's to do with a German Cup that hasn't taken place yet. Relegated are Werder Bremen, FC Ingolstadt and possibly Augsburg. And over in Italy, Juve managed to win the Serie A once again, 7 points clear of both the Milan teams, Milan and Inter, finishing in 2nd and 3rd. Napoli, my former club, of course, finishing in 4th in the Europa League spot. What have I done to that club? They should be so much higher than that. But they are pretty close in terms of points to second place. There's only 1 point off, finishing 2nd or 3rd. Roma in the other Europa League spot, and Lazio getting Europa League spot, I'm assuming from winning a cup. Atalanta, Frosinone Calcio and Cesena all relegated from Serie A. And finally, over to Spain, in La Liga, Barcelona regain their title after Real Madrid won it last season in game. Real Madrid finishing 2nd, Atletico Madrid in 3rd, Athletic Bilbao in 4th. 3 Europa League spaces for Sevilla, Deportivo La Coruña and Real Sociedad. Getafe, Rayo Vallecano and Real Oviedo all getting relegated. It's now time to look at the European competitions, and we can see where that extra Champions League place came into play for the English teams. Leicester and Tottenham played out an all-English final in the Europa League. Tottenham coming out the 3-1 winners in that one, so that's why Tottenham are in the Champions League for next season, despite the fact they finished 5th. And then the final of the Champions League will be between Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester United, so hopefully the French team can win in that one. So that is pretty much it for the season review episode. We'll just take a quick look at the squad. It will be very quick. Just in terms of bringing in new players for next season, I'm not too sure what positions I want to strengthen. So I think it's going to be more of the case of if I see a good player that is of better level than one of our players, or yeah, because our players aren't really that old. I was going to say if our players are getting on a little bit and we need someone to replace them, but there's not many of our players that are getting on a little bit. And I do want to build from youth, really. We've got a great youth system here at Nice. So I'm only going to bring in players that I think can help to improve the team, like I did last season with Djurdjevic and who else was he? Juan Carlos and Greg Cunningham. So hopefully we have a good summer. I'm not really wanting to sell anyone, I don't think, but if any good offers come in, then I'm always willing to sell. We might need to get a good goalkeeper, or a good backup goalkeeper, because Walter Benitez is pretty poor in my opinion. I just want to show you the team report screen. So this is the depth of our squad, their current ability. So we are lacking in great right and left backs at the moment. But if you look at the potential ability, we do have a great left and right back potential wise. We also have 8 great centre midfielders potential wise and 4 great strikers. So provided that our players can actually reach their potential, then we are set up pretty well for the future. But I'll take it back to the current ability. So if you guys have any recommendations of where you think I should strengthen for the coming season, let me know. Obviously use this as a tool. If you've got any players that you know are really good on Football Manager and you think would help the squad, then I'm all ears. Obviously, we want to do well in the Europa League next season. We want to do well in the league. We'd like to challenge for Champions League qualification, if not the title. I mean, the title's probably a bit far, but that is my aim for next season. Now, just when I thought the awards were over, there was no more awards to come. It appears there are. So, Remy Walter has been selected in the Ligue 1 Stars Team of the Competition in centre midfield. It's a team which is dominated by Lyon players and a couple of PSG players and one Monaco player. So well done to Remy Walter. Obviously you got 6th Player of the Match award, so you would expect him to be in there. So that is it for the season review episode. I hope you enjoyed it, having a look back at what's happened in the season in France and elsewhere in Europe. Hopefully Jean Toral gets picked for the England team. Come on, John. I really hope he does. I mean, it's just, I just feel so happy about the fact that he's in the preliminary squad. But that is it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. Feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know, again, if you've got any ideas of players that might be suitable for the Nice squad for next season when we'll be fighting for the league and Europe, hopefully. Subscribe to my channel to get all my content when it comes out. And I'll see you next time for the beginning of our 2nd season in charge of Nice.